Okay, we're ready to start building the header that's going to go on this window. We've got the jamb all built, and it's looking good, and we have a good arch on it, and all that turned out the way we wanted it to. So we need to build the header, and the way we're going to do this is we're going to build the header out of a 1x8, and that's actually dimensioned at 7 1/4, just off the shelf, 1x8. And what I've made here is a template, and this template is the perfect template for that arch on that jamb. And I've laid it up there, cut it out on the bandsaw, put it on the sander. It looks really good. So we're going to use this template to build the header. I'll just lay this template on the header. Like this, get it laid on there perfect, and just trace out the arch. Then we'll take that over to the bandsaw and we'll cut the arch out. But I'm going to cut it shallow. I'm not going to try to cut it right on the line and cut it neat and perfect. And the reason is because we'll use the router to clean that arch up, and I'll show you how we do that in a little while. But I'm not real concerned about making a super accurate cut. I'm just going to get it close to the line and then use a flush trim bit on the router and clean it up. Okay, the width of the header, the way that I've computed that is this is going to be 29.5 inches. Okay, the way that I arrive at that is I take the outside dimension of the jamb, from edge to edge on the outside, and that's 23.5. Okay, I'm going to use 1x4s, which are actually 3.5 inches for the side pieces of casing. So I've got 3.5 inches here times 2, there's 7 inches. All right. These are going to set in 1/2 inch. Okay, think about the jamb. The jamb's right here, and that jamb is 3/4 inch. And I'm going to set it in so there's about a 1/4 inch reveal. Yeah, like this. Pretend this is the jamb. This is going to set in so there's about a 1/4 inch reveal. So that means that I'm setting it in 1/2 inch on each side times 2. So that's 1 inch that I need to take off of this. So I take the 7 inches from these two pieces minus 1 inch for the setting in for the reveal. So I got 6 inches that this is going to extend beyond the jamb. So I said from outside to outside on the jamb was 23.5 inches. Add 6 to it, and that's how I come up with the 29.5. So let me take this over to the bandsaw. We'll cut it out and then clean it up on the router. Okay, I've got the header kind of roughed out. Okay, I didn't spend a whole lot of time getting wound up on trying to cut it right on the line, and just made a rough cut on it. Because what we're going to do now is take this template, and I will attach this template using some double-sided tape. I'll attach it right here like this. And what's going to happen is I'm going to use this flush trim bit. I like these white side bits. They're really good. And I'm going to set it up in the router table so that as this trim bit runs along our piece that we're wanting to shape, it's going to keep taking off material until this bearing on the end of the bit starts making contact with the template. And the template and the bearing will tell the bit when to stop taking off material. So I'll just run it through there. I'll trim off this material, and it's going to be the perfect outline of our template. Okay, we've got our header board all cut out and cleaned up on the sander, and it looks real good. So if you've watched any of my other videos on trimming a Craftsman style window or door, what's going to come next will be no surprise to you. We're going to take a piece of 3/4 inch stock, and we're going to rip it 1 7/8 inch wide. And then we're going to run it through the router with a roundover bit so that we can put this profile on it. Okay, and what that's going to do is create this little cap that's going to go on the top. And then we'll follow that up with a piece of cove. Now, to get the dimension for this piece, we know that this is 29 and 29 3/4, whatever that is. And what's going to happen with this is it's going to hang over the edge by 1 1/4 inches. So we need to add 1 1/4 inches, 1 1/4 inches, 2.5 to the dimension here, 29 3/4. And what we end up with is a piece that is 32 1/4. So I'll go ahead and cut this out on the table saw and run it through the router and put the profile on it, and we'll come back and nail this in with a 18 gauge nailer. Okay, so we have our piece laid into place, got the proper overhang on each end. I'm just going to hit it with an 18 gauge nailer along the top. Now, every 4 or 5 inches, I guess, is adequate. Okay, let's cut out our piece of cove and start putting that together. We are ready to attach this cove, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with just a smidge of wood glue, not a lot, just a smidge. Smidge is a technical term, and that means moist and sticky. I'll let your imagination run with that one. So I'm just going to put a little bit on here and come back in with a pin nailer and nail this into place. So we'll kind of take our finger and run it across. Probably don't have to do this with the glue, but I just give it a little bit more grab. Got my little end pieces here cut, and I'll use that to help me kind of get lined up. That looks good. I'll go ahead and hit it with some of these pin nails. Probably every 4 or 5 inches. Come back in later with some wood filler. fill those holes in. Let's go ahead and put these end pieces on. Get a nail in it. Somebody needs to change the battery in that smoke detector. And that's that, folks. We're almost finished with this header. Okay, I have our header clamped into place. It looks really good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a piece of 1/2 inch stock and we're going to rip it so it's 1 3/8 inch wide. And we're going to run it through the router table so we can put this little profile on it with a round over bit. This is a 1/4 inch radius round over bit. Put this profile on it. And what's going to happen here is this piece is going to lay in like this, and it's going to overhang 3/8 of an inch. Okay, let's go ahead and nail our piece in. Okay, that looks good. We'll do the other side. I'm going to go ahead and nail this header into place. And the reason I want to get some nails in this is it will give strength on these sides. So if this jamb does want to flex out, it's not going to be able to, because I'm going to have it nailed, into place, and it'll help it retain its shape. It's not I'll come back in and fill these holes up with some wood filler. But right now, I think we're hitting where we need to be. Okay, that'll just give it a little strength. I may put another nail or two in here. Boy, that smoke detector battery, something's got to be done about that. I think somebody who watches these videos ought to count how many times that thing has chirped since the inception of this video, and send me a comment and tell me. Okay, that looks good. Okay, we're almost finished with the construction of this window trim, and I think it looks really good. I'm pleased with how this has turned out. The only thing I have to do now is cut out these side casing pieces. I'm going to use a 1x4 off the shelf. It's dimensioned actually 3.5 inches. I'm going to cut it, I think it's 46 3/16. I'll go ahead and cut that out and lay it into place. I'm just going to tack it with a few nails. And then ready to paint and caulk and go ahead and put it in place in the window frame. Before we do that, I'll shim it. I'll show you a technique that I use to shim these windows that I think it works pretty good. So let's go ahead and cut those pieces out and nail them into place. Got the pieces cut out, and what I need to do is come in. I've got this little homemade reveal gauge. That's 1/4 of an inch. And all I'm going to do is lay it right here where I want the reveal and mark some lines so that I'll know where to line up the trim piece. I've already put this one into place. And I'll just hit it with a couple of nails, just tack it into place. Okay, and do this side. So I'm just laying this on my reveal line. Hit it with a couple of nails. And there we are. I think it looks really good. So it's supper time, and I'm going to knock off for tonight and come back tomorrow and do the painting. Hopefully tomorrow, get some good weather, paint, caulk. Hopefully by this weekend I can get this thing nailed into place in the window frame there. So